maybe you are lying there, feeling the quiet hum of a day that did not quite see you. You went through the motions, you performed the roles asked of you, but inside, there is a hollow ache of being somehow bypassed by the world. It is a subtle exhaustion, like a lamp that has been left on for hours in an empty room, burning through its fuel, without ever illuminating anything for anyone to witness. The house around you is still. The air is cool against your skin, and the fabric of the sheets feels steady beneath your touch. You can hear the distant, irregular rhythm of the city, or perhaps the wind shifting through the eaves, but the real sound is the one inside your head. It is the sound of a mind that has been straining to be noticed, to be validated, or to be understood, only to find itself alone in the dark. You are not broken because you feel this. You are not a failure because you have spent so much of your energy trying to shine for others. What you are experiencing is a deep human hunger for connection, but the method you have used to feed it has only left you feeling more parched. You have been trying to earn your own existence by proving it to the people around you. You have been trying to make the light brighter, hoping that if you could just get the angle right, or the intensity high enough, someone would finally turn and see the warmth of your heart. But tonight, we will step away from that work. We will not try to fix your light, and we will not try to force it to shine on a world that may not be looking. We will learn how to turn the lamp inward, and in that quiet, steady glow, we will finally find the rest you have been denied. Right now, if it feels right, take a slow breath. Let the weight of your shoulders settle into the mattress. You do not need to hold yourself up anymore. You do not need to project an image of strength, or competence, or even happiness for the sake of the darkness. The night does not require you to perform. It does not judge you for the silence, and it does not ask for your credentials. You can let the mask you have been wearing all day slide off. You can leave it on the floor like a discarded robe and let your face soften into the truth of who you are when no one is watching. There is a paradox in this feeling of being invisible. We believe that we are invisible because no one else is looking at us. We think that if we are not seen, we are not real. But the Buddhist perspective suggests something very different. You are not invisible because the world has stopped looking. You are invisible to yourself because you have moved all your awareness outside, scattering it like seeds into the wind, hoping for a harvest of approval. You are looking everywhere for your own reflection, failing to realize that you are the mirror. This exhaustion you feel, this heavy pulling sensation in your chest, is not a sign that you are failing to live. It is a sign that you are living for an audience that is never fully present. You are trying to fill an internal void with external glances. But the more you reach outward, the more you leave the internal lamp unlit. You become a shadow searching for its substance. You become a hollow shell, moving through your life, wondering why the warmth of your own being never seems to touch you. You might have spent years perfecting your performance. You have studied the gestures that people admire. You have learned how to speak the words that make you seem capable, reliable, or interesting. You have curated your life like a gallery, hanging paintings on the wall and waiting for the visitors to come and offer their praise. But the visitors are rarely paying attention. They are too busy curating their own galleries, too busy hoping that someone will come to see their work. This is the great, quiet tragedy of modern life. Everyone is performing for an audience that is also performing. No one is truly looking, but tonight you can stop. You can close the gallery. You can lock the doors and let the visitors go home. You do not need their eyes on your work to know that it is good. You do not need to know that your light has value. You are the only person who will ever truly live inside your skin, and you are the only one who can truly know the texture of your own experience. If you are the only witness to your own life, is that not enough? If you are the only one who feels the depth of your own kindness, is that not a miracle in itself? We are going to walk through this together, not by trying to make others see you, but by learning how to see yourself. We are going to explore the architecture of this invisibility, and we are going to dismantle it piece by piece until nothing remains but the quiet, unshakable reality of your own presence. You do not need to resolve this tonight. You do not need to have a breakthrough. You only need to be present. You only need to allow the lamp to remain still and to notice the light that was there all along. The air in your room is beginning to feel like a warm, protective weight. Notice the way the darkness presses against your skin, not with cold, but with a gentle, enveloping comfort. You are not alone in this space. You are held by the earth. You are held by the night. And you are held by the simple, ancient rhythm of your own breath. Every inhale is a choice to exist. Every exhale is an offering of everything you no longer need to carry. You have been carrying the weight of the world's gaze for so long, and it has bowed your back. But you are not the weight. You are the one who is doing the carrying, and you are the one who can set it down. Do not try to force your mind to go quiet. The mind is a restless, searching creature, and it has been trained to look for food in the desert. It will keep wandering. It will keep asking questions, and it will keep trying to solve the problem of your significance. Let it. You do not have to obey it. You do not have to follow it into the maze. You can watch it like a traveler, watching a boat drift down a river, without needing to jump into the water yourself. You can be the bank, the ground, the stillness. As we move forward, let the stories we share act like a soft, dim light in the hallway of your mind. They are not meant to teach you new things. They are meant to remind you of the things you already knew, but which you have forgotten under the pressure of needing to be seen. You have known how to rest before you knew how to struggle. You have known how to exist before you knew how to be measured. That part of you is still here. It is waiting in the quiet, beneath the noise, beneath the performance, beneath the exhaustion. Take another deep, slow breath and let it go with a long, soft sigh. Let your teeth release their grip. Let your forehead smooth out. The night is deep and it is patient. It has seen the sun set 1 billion times, and it has never once worried about whether it was being noticed. It simply trusts the cycle, and it trusts the light to return when the time is right. You can trust too. You can let the night take the burden of your identity. You can let the darkness hold you exactly as you are, without requiring you to prove anything to anyone. You are not a painting in a gallery. You are the light itself. You are the space where the light lives. You are home in a remote temple, nestled against the spine of a jagged mountain range. There lived a young monk named Kaito. The air in this high place was thin and biting, and the silence was often so heavy it felt like a physical presence. Kaito had been tasked with the decoration of the inner sanctuary. He was a gifted artist with a sensitive soul, and for months he had labored over a series of murals meant to depict the history of the order. He worked in the dim light of dawn, using charcoal sticks he had crafted from burnt oak and pigments he ground by hand from river stones. He was tireless in his pursuit of perfection. Every brushstroke was scrutinized, every line measured against his own high expectations. But there was a peculiarity to Kaito's process. Whenever a senior monk or a fellow student approached the sanctuary to observe the progress, Kaito would hurriedly draw a heavy silk curtain across the wall. He stood guard before the hidden work, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He was convinced that if he showed his work before it was truly complete, the others would see the flaws, he was certain, were hiding in the shadows of his own skill. He believed that if he revealed his inner world, they would find it lacking, or worse, ignore it altogether. One afternoon, the temple master, a man of few words whose face was etched with the map of many winters, entered the sanctuary. He did not ask to see the murals. He simply walked to the center of the room, sat upon a woven mat, and closed his eyes. The room was filled with the smell of dry dust, cold incense, and the sharp, metallic tang of the charcoal. Kaito hovered near the curtain, his hands tucked nervously into the sleeves of his robe. He waited for the request to see, for the command to reveal, but the master remained still, as if he were part of the very architecture of the hall. After a long time, the master spoke. He did not open his eyes. He asked Kaito if the lamp on the altar was lit. It was a simple, mundane question. Kaito turned to the bronze lamp that sat upon the stone pedestal near the entrance. It was empty, a relic of a time when the temple was fully inhabited, and it had not been filled with oil in many years. Kaito replied that it was cold and empty. The master nodded, and then he stood and walked toward the lamp. He did not reach for oil. Instead, he simply stood before it, his hands resting on the cool bronze. He asked Kaito to come closer. When Kaito arrived, the master gestured to the empty vessel. He told the young monk that a lamp cannot give light if it is constantly worried about whether the flame will be admired by the wind. He explained that the flame does not burn to prove its existence to the rafters. It burns because that is its nature. The master then asked Kaito if he had ever truly looked at his own work when he was not trying to protect it from the potential judgment of others. Kaito was silent. The truth of the question settled over him like the evening mist. He realized that for months he had been so busy hiding his work from the world that he had become a stranger to the very thing he was creating. The master reached out and touched the curtain that hid the murals. He did not pull it aside. He simply rested his palm against the fabric. He told Kaito that the fear of being seen was actually a fear of seeing oneself. By closing the curtain, Kaito was not just hiding his art, he was hiding his own heart from his own awareness. He was effectively leaving his own inner lamp unlit, waiting for someone else to arrive with the fire while he stood in the cold, guarding the darkness. The master then walked out of the sanctuary, leaving Kaito standing alone in the dim yellow light of the declining sun. The sanctuary felt different now. The silence was no longer a wait, but a space waiting to be filled. Kaito looked at the curtain. He realized that the charcoal dust on his fingers was not a sign of his struggle, but a remnant of his effort to bring something into the light. He slowly reached out and pulled the silk fabric to the side. The wall was covered in intricate, sprawling murals of mountains, rivers, and faces that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. For the first time, he was not looking for the flaws. He was not anticipating the eyes of the master or the judgment of the other monks. He was simply witnessing what he had brought forth. He felt a strange, quiet expansion in his chest. It was not a grand epiphany. It was more like a sigh. He had spent so long holding the curtain tight that he had forgotten what it felt like to let his own work exist, regardless of whether it was observed. The murals did not change, yet in his eyes they were transformed. They were no longer a weapon he was wielding against his own insecurity. They were simply a reflection of his own spirit, poured onto the stone. The lamp remained empty, yet the room seemed less cold. He sat down on the floor, right where the master had sat, and he watched the light shift across the charcoal lines. He noticed the texture of the wall. He noticed the way the pigments caught the fading glow. He was finally present with his own creation. He had spent his time looking for a mirror in the faces of others, never realizing that the work he was hiding was the mirror he was so desperate to find. He watched the shadows stretch across the sanctuary. He felt the cold seep into the stone floor, yet he did not feel the need to move. He was content to be the witness to his own existence. This is a quiet, initial movement. The lesson of the murals is not a mandate to be famous, or to be praised, or to be recognized by the masses. It is a reminder that we often close the curtain on ourselves, fearing that our inner world is not enough to stand on its own. We believe that we need the validation of the outside world to justify our light. But as Kaito discovered, the fire must be lit from within. We do not need the approval of the wind to know that we are burning. We only need to be brave enough to look at our own work, our own feelings, and our own lived experience without needing them to be perfect for anyone else. The charcoal on your hands, the dust on your clothes, and the weight of your own hidden efforts are all part of the mural you are creating every day. You have been guarding your heart with a heavy silk curtain, hoping to protect it from being ignored. But you have only succeeded in protecting it from your own gentle observation. You are allowed to pull back the curtain. You are allowed to witness your own life in all its messy, intricate detail. You do not need an audience for this. The witness can be you. As you lie here, in the quiet of your room, try to imagine the silk curtain hanging in the sanctuary of your own mind. You have been standing guard for so long. Your muscles are tense. Your mind is restless, scanning the room for any sign of judgment or neglect. You can let the curtain fall. You can let it rest against the wall. The murals behind it are beautiful, not because they are perfect, but because they are yours. You are the artist, you are the work, and you are the viewer. You are finally, in this moment, witnessing your own presence. Feel the way the breath enters your body. It is a soft, rhythmic movement, like a wave returning to the shore. You are not being graded on your breathing. You are not being observed for your stillness. You are simply existing. And that is the miracle the Master was pointing toward. You are the lamp. You are the flame. You are the light that illuminates the sanctuary of your own heart. When you are willing to look at yourself with kindness, you no longer need the world to turn its gaze your way. You are already seen. You are already known. You are already enough. Notice the dim, amber light of your awareness. It is small, perhaps, but it is steady. It does not flicker when the wind of your anxiety blows. It is the core of your being. You have carried this light through every room of your life, through the shadows of your doubt, and through the long, quiet corridors of your loneliness. You have never been invisible to yourself unless you chose to close the curtain. And tonight, you are choosing to leave it open. You are choosing to see the murals of your own life with all the lines you have drawn. and all the spaces you have filled. The master did not tell Kaito to change the murals. He did not tell him to be a better painter. He only asked him to light the lamp. You do not need to change your life to be worthy of peace. You only need to change the way you witness your own life. You are the only one who can truly know the effort you have put into being who you are today. You are the only one who can feel the warmth of your own spirit, even when the rest of the world is busy looking elsewhere. Let the night wrap around you like a cool, soft cloth. You have done enough guarding. You have done enough hiding. You are finally home. This story is not telling us that the young monk was wrong to create. It is not asking us to stop feeling or to move through the world with a heart that has been turned to stone. The desire to share one's inner world, the longing to be witnessed, is one of the most tender and human impulses we possess. There is nothing cold about the wisdom the master offered. He was not asking Kaito to abandon the murals. He was not even asking him to stop caring about how they were perceived by others. He was pointing to a much quieter truth. He was showing the monk that the suffering lived not only in the work, but in the way the mind kept guarding the work behind a curtain of fear. When you feel invisible, it is easy to assume that the problem lies in the world's failure to notice you. The mind concludes that if only you could be louder, or brighter, or more perfect, the ache would finally dissolve. You might spend your nights polishing your presence, adjusting your gestures, or hiding the parts of yourself that feel unready for display, all in the hope that someone will finally turn their gaze toward you. You treat your own spirit like a mural that must be protected, fearing that if the curtain is ever pulled back, the world will see only the flaws you have already magnified in your own memory. But the master's question about the lamp reveals the heart of the matter. The lamp did not need the wind to decide it was worthy of being a lamp. It did not need the acknowledgement of the rafters to understand that its purpose was to hold a flame. The suffering you feel, the heavy, hollow exhaustion of wanting to be seen, is actually a layer of extra pain that the mind has built on top of the original ache of loneliness. You have taken the simple, human experience of wanting connection and turned it into a desperate, lifelong performance. You have turned your own existence into a project that must be managed, validated, and guarded, rather than a life that can simply be lived. Think of how often you add this extra weight. When a moment passes where you feel unheard, the mind immediately begins to construct a narrative. It suggests that you are not enough. It tells you that your light has failed because no one stopped to comment on it. It convinces you that you must work harder, perform better, or hide more of your true self next time. This is what it means to add a second wound to the first. The first wound is the moment of feeling overlooked, which is a common, passing experience in the flow of life. The second wound is the judgment you heap upon yourself afterward, the internal accusation that says, you are invisible because you are fundamentally lacking. This is the cycle of what we might call craving. You crave the gaze of the other because you have become disconnected from the reality of your own presence. You have moved your sense of self outside of your body, placing it in the hands of strangers, friends, or the distant, uncaring world. You are like a person trying to warm their own house by running from window to window, hoping the heat of the sun will notice you, all while forgetting that you have a hearth right in the middle of your living room that you have left cold for years. Mindfulness, in this light, is not a technique for achieving silence. It is not a way to force your thoughts to stop. It is the practice of simply remembering to stand by your own hearth It is the ability to notice the moment the mind begins its anxious search for external validation, and to recognize that search for what it is. You can see the craving arise. You can notice the way your chest tightens when you are not being noticed. You can feel the urge to pull the curtain shut, to hide, or to perform, and you can stay there with that feeling without having to obey it. You do not have to move. You do not have to fix it. You just have to witness it. The impermanence of things is a gentle comfort here. The mood of the world, the opinions of others, the shifting tides of recognition and neglect, these are all as fleeting as the shadows on the temple wall. If you base your sense of self on the way others see you, you are building your house on the clouds. You are tethered to something that is constantly changing, constantly moving, and constantly indifferent to your struggle. But the light of your own awareness is not shifting in the same way. It is a steady, constant, and accessible warmth. It is the witness that remains after the praise has faded and the criticism has drifted away. Compassion, then, is the act of turning that light toward the one who is feeling invisible. Instead of judging yourself for the hunger to be seen, you can meet that hunger with a soft, steady kindness. You can say to yourself, quietly and truthfully, that it is okay to want to be known. It is okay to feel the ache of being overlooked. You do not need to fight that feeling, and you do not need to run from it. You can hold it. You can let it sit with you, like a tired traveler who has finally reached the sanctuary. You can offer yourself the very thing you were demanding from the world. You can see yourself. This is what it means to stop adding the second wound. You accept the reality of the passing moment, the loneliness, the lack of attention, the silence. Without piling your own self-hatred on top of it, you allow the moment to be what it is, and in doing so, you find that the moment itself is not as solid or as threatening as you once believed. It is just a moment. It will pass. And underneath it, the steady, quiet glow of your own being remains. You are not the curtain. You are not the murals you are trying to perfect. You are the space where the light is dancing. As you lie here, feel how much of your day is spent in this state of holding the curtain. Think of the internal vigilance required to ensure that no one sees your flaws, or to ensure that everyone sees your accomplishments. This is the source of your weariness. It is not the work that tires you. It is the guarding of the work. It is the constant effort to present a version of yourself that is safe from judgment. Tonight, you have permission to drop the curtain. There is no audience here. There is only the night, the silence, and the truth of your own breathing. You can begin to let the need for external validation soften. It does not have to disappear all at once. It can just lose its grip. Imagine that need like a heavy iron key you have been clenching in your palm for days. Your hand is cramped. Your arm is aching. You do not need to throw the key away. You just need to open your fingers. Let the key rest on your palm. Let your hand go soft. The key is still there, but it is no longer consuming all your energy. You can feel the air on your skin. You can feel the weight of your own body on the mattress. This is the beginning of a different way of being. It is a way that does not require you to be anything other than exactly who you are, right in this moment. You are not a project to be perfected. You are a life to be lived. You are a light to be witnessed by yourself. You can notice the way the breath moves through your ribs, the way your heart beats, without you needing to tell it to, the way your thoughts appear and vanish like mist on the mountain. All of this is happening right now, without any help from the world outside. All of this is yours. In a few moments, we will explore a deeper path, but for now, just feel the relief of this simple insight. The struggle of being invisible is a struggle of your own making, born from a heart that has forgotten how to look at itself. You are not a ghost. You are not a shadow. You are a presence, and you are the only one who can truly know the truth of your own life. Everything else is just a reflection on the water. Everything else is just a story the mind tells to keep the curtain closed. You are safe enough to open it. You are safe enough to see yourself. And in seeing yourself, you are already found. We are now going to bring this understanding into the quiet architecture of your own body. There is no need to change your posture, and there is no need to force your mind into a state of rigid stillness. If you are comfortable as you are, stay exactly there. Allow your body to become heavy, letting the surface beneath you hold your weight completely. You have spent so long bracing yourself against the world, holding your muscles in a state of constant, invisible tension, that you may have forgotten what it feels like to simply let go of the floor. As you breathe in, imagine that you are gathering your awareness from the far corners of the world, from the distant opinions of others, and from the worries that keep you looking toward the future. With each slow, deliberate exhale, let that awareness settle back into your center. You are not trying to push thoughts away. You are simply inviting your attention to return to the hearth of your own living room. You are noticing the light that is already burning inside, even if you have neglected it for a long, long time. Perhaps you can bring to mind one specific thought that has been pulling at your attention lately. Maybe it is a conversation that left you feeling small, or a recurring fear that you are somehow missing the mark, or a quiet anxiety about whether you are being perceived clearly by those you love. Do not try to resolve the thought. Do not try to argue with it or convince yourself that it is wrong. Just let it appear like a soft shadow against the wall of your inner sanctuary. Acknowledge it. You might even give it a gentle name, like the worry of the curtain or the fear of being unseen. Imagine now that you are holding a small, unlit bronze lamp in your hands. This is the object that carries your presence. In your mind's eye, see yourself, placing that thought, that specific worry, gently into the hollow of the lamp. You are not throwing it away. You are not erasing it. You are simply choosing to witness it from a position of safety, rather than from a position of combat. You are placing the worry where it can be seen, but you are no longer letting it stand between you and the truth of your own being. Notice how it feels to have that worry resting in the lamp instead of pressing against your heart. Does the pressure in your chest soften? Does the tightness in your throat begin to loosen? Even just a fraction. You are doing something very profound right now. You are practicing the art of the witness. You are moving from the role of the person who is being acted upon by their fears to the role of the person who is observing their fears with compassion. You are the one who is holding the lamp. The lamp is not holding you. If you find that your mind wanders away, returning to the old habit of performing, or if you feel the urge to pull the curtain shut once more, that is perfectly fine. You do not need to judge yourself for the drift. The mind is a traveler who has lost its way many times before, and it will lose its way again. Whenever you notice that you have left the sanctuary, just smile at your own humanness and return to the breath. Return to the feeling of the air in your lungs, and return to the simple, unburdened weight of your body resting in the dark. There is no need to fill the lamp with oil tonight. You do not need to generate a brilliant, blinding light that will convince the whole world of your worth. You are not here to illuminate the rafters. You are here to sit with the lamp, to acknowledge the worry you have placed inside it, and to recognize that the light of your own awareness is what allows you to see the worry at all. You are the light. The thoughts are just objects in the room. As you sit with this image, notice if there is a desire to rush toward a conclusion. The mind often feels that if we have sat for a few minutes, we must have achieved some great, lasting transformation. We want the curtain to be gone forever. We want the murals to be perfectly visible, but that is just another way of trying to control the outcome. Let the pace be slow. Let the stillness be imperfect. The practice of presence does not happen in a grand cinematic moment. It happens in the quiet, mundane repetition of coming back to yourself over and over with kindness. If you feel a sense of fatigue, let that be part of the practice too. Being invisible is exhausting. Trying to be seen is a labor that never ends. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be someone who has carried a heavy burden for a long time and who is now finally setting it down. You do not have to prove that you are healed. You do not have to demonstrate that you have succeeded in this practice. You are just a person, breathing in the dark, resting in the safety of your own company. Imagine the room around you. Feel the texture of the sheets, the temperature of the air, the gentle pressure of the blanket against your legs. All of these things are grounding you. They are constant, solid, and real. When you get lost in the forest of your own worries, these sensations are the path back to the sanctuary. They are the reality that remains when the stories of the mind have quieted down. You are grounded in this moment. You are anchored in this space. You might notice that the worry you placed in the lamp seems to have changed its shape. Perhaps it has become smaller, or perhaps it has become less distinct. Perhaps it is just a flicker in the shadows now. Do not be tempted to reach in and try to force it to change further. Leave it as it is. It is enough that you have looked at it. It is enough that you have acknowledged it without letting it take charge of the room. You are learning to live alongside your worries rather than living inside them. There is a deep, resonant peace in this realization. You have spent your life believing that you were the shadow that was being chased, but you are the one who is doing the chasing. When you stop, when you sit down with the lamp, when you open the curtain, the chase ends. The shadows do not vanish, but they stop being a threat. They become part of the sanctuary, part of the room, part of the scenery. You are the one who is watching, and in that watching, you are finally truly home. Continue to breathe. Let the rhythm of the chest be the only clock you follow. There is nowhere else you need to be. The tasks of the day are finished. The expectations of others have been set aside. The performance is over. You are simply a witness, sitting in the quiet of your own house, holding a small, unlit lamp, and watching the shadows shift across the floor. You are safe enough to be still. You are safe enough to be seen by yourself. You are doing the work of being, and that is more than enough for tonight. Years later, on a windswept cliffside, where the ocean churned against the grey stone, there lived an elderly man named Elias. He was the keeper of a small, forgotten shrine, a place where people once came to offer prayers for lost things. Elias had spent his entire life in service to this site, and he was known for his relentless dedication to the upkeep of the structure. His hands were calloused and gnarled, his back permanently bowed from decades of hauling water, scrubbing salt from the masonry, and polishing the brass telescope that sat on the balcony. He felt, with a profound and quiet desperation, that if he did not keep the shrine pristine, the very memory of it would vanish, and with it, his own sense of purpose. Every night, Elias climbed to the balcony to clean the lens of the telescope. He was convinced that if the glass were not perfectly clear, the distant stars would not see the shrine, and therefore the world would remain unaware of its existence. He spent hours buffing the brass with a piece of worn chamois, his movements frantic and repetitive. He was always worried that he was missing a smudge, or that the light would be too dim to guide anyone toward the quiet solace he provided. He was an invisible guardian of an invisible place, and he carried the weight of this isolation as if it were a holy burden. One evening, a traveler arrived at the shrine. He was a man who looked as though he had walked across the entire horizon. He carried nothing but a simple, unadorned walking staff. He did not come to pray. He simply sat on the stone floor of the balcony and watched the horizon. Elias, feeling the agitation of his routine being interrupted, continued his work on the telescope. He scrubbed with extra fervor, wanting the traveler to witness his diligence, wanting to be seen as the vital, essential keeper of the flame. The traveler watched him for a long time. The rhythmic squeak of the chamois against the brass, the only sound against the roar of the surf below. Finally, the traveler spoke. He did not ask about the shrine or the prayers. He asked Elias if he had ever actually looked through the telescope to see the sea, rather than just polishing the glass. Elias stopped. He felt a sudden, sharp pang in his chest. He realized that in all his years of keeping the glass pristine, he had never once put his eye to the aperture. He had been so focused on the maintenance of his own importance, so consumed by the fear that his work would go unnoticed if he were not perfect, that he had entirely missed the point of the instrument he guarded. Elias hesitated, his hand trembling as he reached for the brass instrument. He felt a strange, internal resistance. If he stopped to look, he would have to admit that he had been wasting his time. He would have to accept that the stars did not care about the shine of the brass. He would have to face the fact that he was, and always had been, a man who was simply trying to fill his own emptiness with the exhaustion of labor. He looked at the traveler, expecting a lecture or a demand. But the traveler only smiled, a look of immense, quiet patience on his face. Elias leaned in. He pressed his eye to the cold metal. At first, all he saw was darkness. Then, as he adjusted the focus, the sea appeared. It was vast, turbulent, and indifferent. He saw the way the waves broke against the rocks below, the foam dancing in the moonlight, the sheer, beautiful scale of the ocean that existed whether he polished the glass or not. He saw that the shrine was a tiny, inconsequential speck against the grandeur of the world. In that moment, the frantic need to be the keeper of the light began to drain out of him. He realized that the light he had been guarding was never his to hold, and it was never in danger of being lost. He pulled back from the telescope. The chamois fell from his hand, landing softly on the stone. He did not pick it up. He did not feel a sudden, magical burst of joy. He felt, instead, a profound sense of relief, a weight lifting from his shoulders that he had not realized he was carrying. He sat down next to the traveler. They sat in silence, watching the tide rise. Elias did not worry about the salt spray on the glass anymore. He did not worry about the shrine falling into disrepair. He was content to be a person sitting on a cliff, breathing the salt air, and witnessing the movement of the world without needing to control it. The traveler stood to leave. He gave Elias no grand advice, no sacred teaching to memorize. He only placed his hand on Elias' shoulder and told him that the glass was meant to be a window, not a wall. Elias watched him walk away into the darkness until he was no longer visible. He turned back to the telescope. He did not touch it. He stood and walked to the edge of the balcony, looking out at the vast, open water with his own unassisted eyes. He had stopped performing his life. He had started living it. This is the transformation we are looking for. It is not a movement toward perfection. It is a movement toward clarity. Elias did not stop being the keeper of the shrine, and he did not stop working. He simply stopped using his work as a mask to hide from his own insignificance. He allowed himself to be a small part of a vast, beautiful existence. And in that, he found the very visibility he had been searching for. When you stop trying to shine for the world, you finally allow yourself to be seen by the truth of your own life. You have spent your energy polishing the telescope, convinced that the clarity of your own soul depends on the brightness of your accomplishments. You have been so busy managing the image of your life that you have forgotten to actually experience it. You have been cleaning the lens, terrified that if someone were to look, they would find you lacking. But the lens is not the truth. The window is not the world. Your life is the ocean, moving, changing, and indifferent to your efforts to define it. You can let the chamois fall. You can let the brass lose its luster. You are safe enough to be ordinary. Notice the way your thoughts try to reclaim the telescope. The mind will immediately tell you that you must continue to polish, that if you stop, the shrine will fall and you will be erased. It will whisper that your value is tied to your vigilance. Do not believe it. That is just the old habit of the invisible self, trying to survive by staying busy. You can notice that thought and you can let it pass. Like a ship disappearing over the horizon. You do not need to follow it. You do not need to argue with it. You can simply sit with yourself, here on the cliff, and listen to the sound of the breathing, the sound of the tide, the sound of the present moment. Transformation is often this quiet. It is the decision to stop adding the second wound of judgment to the first wound of existence. Elias did not stop the pain of his loneliness, but he stopped using it to build a wall around his heart. He allowed the loneliness to be what it was, a feeling, a transient state, a whisper in the wind, rather than a label he had to live under. You can do the same. When the feeling of being unseen arises, you do not have to fix it. You do not have to perform. You can hold your own hand. You can feel the warmth of your own body. And you can remind yourself that you are here. The practice of the observer is the practice of the telescope. When you find yourself in the middle of a frantic, self-protective moment, remember to pause, take a single breath. Put your eye to the window instead of the wall. Ask yourself if the struggle is helping you see, or if it is just a way to keep the curtain closed. Often, the answer will be enough to let the tension go. You do not need a breakthrough. You do not need the traveler to arrive. You have everything you need to observe the reality of your own life right now, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the quiet. There is a deep, abiding kindness in this realization. You are not a ghost haunting your own life. You are the one who is alive. You are the one who feels, who breathes, who struggles, and who wonders. That is a miracle. It is a miracle that does not depend on being noticed by others. It is a miracle that is complete, finished, and whole, all on its own. The stars are not waiting for you to polish the brass. They are already shining, and so are you. You have been waiting for the world to confirm this, but the confirmation has always been available in the silence of your own heart. As you sit here in the dark, let the image of the cliffside shrine settle into your mind. Let it be a reminder of your own capacity to let go. You have been carrying the weight of the shrine for a long time. You have been the keeper, the guard, the polisher, and the worried observer. But you are also the traveler, who can walk away from the expectation of being something more. You are free to be the person who simply sits and breathes and watches the tide. You are free to be present without needing to be known. The night is deep, and it is vast. It holds no expectations of you. It does not care if you have succeeded, if you have failed, or if you have remained invisible to the rest of the world. It only asks that you exist. It only asks that you breathe. It only asks that you allow yourself to be held here in this space where no curtains remain to be drawn and no lenses remain to be polished. You are already in the sanctuary. You have always been in the sanctuary. You just had to stop polishing the walls long enough to see where you were. Feel the body, heavy and soft, merging with the surface beneath you. You are becoming the cliff, the stone, the ocean, and the night. You are becoming the quiet awareness that witnessed Elias on his balcony. You are becoming the space where all these stories live, move, and vanish. There is no more work to do tonight. The polishing is finished. The telescope has been laid down. The traveler has walked away, and you are left with the only thing that ever mattered. You are left with the simplicity of your own presence. You are left with the truth of the light that never needed a name. The exhaustion you feel is not a symptom of your life, but a symptom of your struggle with it. You have been treating your existence like a fragile lantern in a storm, convinced that if you do not constantly hold it steady with your own willpower, the light will vanish and the darkness will claim you. You rehearse the future to prevent the darkness from catching you off guard. You replay the past to see where you dropped the light, hoping that if you analyze your mistakes, you can build more secure handle for next. You look for approval in the faces of those around you, checking to see if they are looking at the lamp, if they admire the flame, or if they find the whole thing dim and insignificant. This is the mechanism of the suffering mind. It is a tireless, anxious builder of walls. It believes that if it can just manage every variable, if it can just control how you are perceived and how you perform, then you will finally be safe. But the irony is that this very vigilance is what prevents you from ever feeling the warmth of the light you are trying to protect. You are so busy guarding the lamp that you have become a shadow, a hollow figure moving through the halls of your own house, haunted by the very insecurity you are trying to extinguish. Buddhist wisdom distinguishes clearly between the rain and the resistance to the rain. The rain is the first kind of pain. It is the inevitable disappointment of a day where you went unnoticed. It is the sting of a relationship that does not go as planned. It is the weight of feeling lonely or overlooked or misunderstood. This is a natural occurrence, like the weather in the world. It is not a moral failing, and it is not a sign that you are doing your life wrong. It is simply part of being a sentient being in a vast, shifting environment. But then there is the second kind of pain, the one you add yourself. This is the resistance to the rain. It is the internal voice that says, I should not be feeling this. It is the judgment that says, if I were a better person, people would notice me. It is the frantic attempt to build a roof over the entire world, hoping to control the climate, so that you never have to feel the sting of the cold again. This resistance is the source of the exhaustion. It is the feeling of holding a heavy iron door shut against a tide that is already inside the room. When you judge your own loneliness, you turn it into shame. When you judge your own lack of recognition, you turn it into a deficit of self-worth. You are essentially fighting the ocean with a teacup, and then you are angry at yourself for being tired. Peace does not arrive because you successfully stop the rain. It arrives when you stop building the roof. It happens when you finally lower your hands and let the reality of the moment exist without needing to label it as good, bad, or a testament to your character. You stop trying to make your life look like a perfectly curated exhibit. You stop using your own heart as a place to keep score of how many times you were seen, how many times you were ignored, and how many times you were misunderstood. You simply become the space where these events occur. Think of how often you turn your own pain into an identity. Because you felt invisible once, you conclude that you are an invisible person. Because you were overlooked in a meeting, you decide that you are an insignificant professional. You take a passing moment of neglect and you knit it into the fabric of your soul. You begin to walk through the world, expecting to be ignored. You begin to speak in a voice that anticipates being silenced. You are the architect of your own invisibility, reinforcing the very status you are trying to escape. The mind loves this consistency. It would rather feel the familiar weight of being overlooked than risk the terrifying uncertainty of being seen for who you really are. Fear of uncertainty is the engine of this identity. We cling to our wounds because they feel like solid ground. If I am the person who is always overlooked, then I know exactly how to behave. I know how to retreat. I know how to protect my heart. I know how to avoid the vulnerability of truly being present. But if I let go of that label, if I step out of the shrine and onto the path without a map, then anything could happen. Someone might look at me and find me boring. Someone might notice me and reject me. Someone might see the truth of my heart and turn away. That uncertainty is the threshold of freedom, but the mind sees it as the end of the world. So we stay in the shrine, polishing the brass, terrified of the vast ocean outside. We stay in the cage because we know the dimensions of the bars, and we have spent so many years counting them that we have forgotten how to fly. But tonight, you are beginning to see the bars for what they are. They are not structural. They are made of thought. They are made of the stories you have been telling yourself about your need to be managed, your need to be guarded, and your need to be recognized. You do not need to dissolve these patterns all at once. That would be like asking the ocean to stop moving. You only need to notice the movement. When you feel the familiar pull of the second wound, when you feel the judgment rising to meet your own vulnerability, you can pause. You can simply notice the feeling. You can say to yourself, this is the feeling of wanting to be seen. You do not have to act on it. You do not have to perform. You do not have to fix it. Just naming it is a form of immense kindness. It is a way of saying that you are not the judgment. You are the one who is witnessing the judgment. This is the heart of the Buddhist path. It is the move from being the prisoner of your thoughts to being the spacious, quiet house in which they occur. You have spent your life trying to fix the self through shame, hoping that if you could just get the image right, the inner critic would finally be satisfied. But the critic is never satisfied. It is a hungry ghost that feeds on the very effort you use. To appease it, it wants you to stay busy. It wants you to stay polishing. It wants you to stay small and safe within the confines of your own stories. But the light is already here. It does not need you to work for it. It does not need you to validate its presence through the gaze of another. It is the awareness that allows you to read these words. It is the life that beats in your chest while you sleep. It is the stillness that greets you when you finally let the pen fall and the screen go dark. You are that light. You are the space where the light lives, moves, and has its being. You are the sanctuary, not the keeper of the shrine. And you are safe enough to let the shrine fall into ruin, if that is what it takes for you to finally walk out onto the cliff and face the sea. You may be feeling a strange sensation in your body. Now it might be a release in the belly, or a settling of the shoulders, or even a sudden, unexpected wave of tiredness. This is not just sleep. This is the nervous system realizing that it no longer needs to be on guard. You have been holding your breath, waiting for the world to notice you, for so long that your lungs have forgotten how to expand. Let them fill. Let the air reach the very bottom of your rib cage. You are not waiting for anything. You have arrived. The uncertainty of tomorrow is no longer a threat. It is a wide open field of possibility. You do not need to walk into it with your armor on. You do not need to prepare a script for the conversations you will have, or an explanation for the life you are living. You can walk into the future as you are, with all your beautiful, messy human complexity. If you are seen, that is a joy. If you are not seen, that is also fine. The light will continue to burn, regardless of whether someone stands on the balcony to witness it. The ocean will continue to heave, regardless of whether you are there to polish the lens. This realization is the ending of the performance. It is the moment the curtains fall and the theater is empty. And for the first time, you can hear the sound of your own heart beating, soft and steady, in the dark. It is the sound of life, unscripted and unbound. It is the sound of a person who has finally stopped trying to be someone and started simply being. You are that person. You are the one who is finally resting. You are the one who has decided that the only witness that ever truly mattered was the one who was here all along. You are the observer, the observed, and the light that reveals both. You are home. This wisdom is not reserved for the high mountain or the quiet temple. It is meant for the very moments when your life feels the most cluttered, the most demanding, and the most fragile. It is meant for the Tuesday afternoon, when you are staring at your phone, waiting for a message that will tell you whether you are valued, or for the 3 a.m, when the ceiling is a canvas, for every mistake you think you have made this year. It is meant for the times you compare your own messy reality to the polished images of others, feeling that you have fallen behind in some invisible race. When you are lying in bed and the mind starts its restless patrol of the future, remember the telescope. You are not required to polish the glass. You are not required. Ensure that the stars are aligned. You are only required to be the one who sits on the balcony and breathes if the mind whispers that you are not doing enough, or that your life is not measuring up to the standards of some unseen audience. Recognize that whisper as a habit of the keeper, not the truth of the observer. You can notice that thought without giving it a seat at your table. You do not need to fight it, and you do not need to believe it. You can just let it drift across the dark, like a cloud crossing the moon. Think of the times you feel the need to smile, when you are actually feeling heavy. You perform this act of normalcy to make others feel comfortable, or to hide the truth of your own weariness. This is not a crime, and you do not need to stop being kind, but try to bring the practice of the observer into that small, private space behind your eyes. while you are smiling, while you are fulfilling your duties, stay connected to your own internal sanctuary. Know that you are carrying a weight and allow yourself to feel it without judging yourself for having it. You do not have to show the weight to the world to know that it is yours to carry, and you do not need to hide it from yourself to feel worthy of peace. There is a powerful, quiet discipline in choosing not to obey every command of the anxious mind. When you are replaying a conversation and the impulse arises to analyze every word for hidden meaning or potential failure, pause. Take that single, anchoring breath. In that small gap between the trigger and the reaction, you are free. You are not the person who is being judged, and you are not the person who is doing the judging. You are the space where the judgment happens. By simply stopping, even for a few seconds, you break the chain of the second wound. You deny the mind the satisfaction of spinning a narrative out of thin air. Often, we feel guilty for resting because we have been taught that our worth is found in our productivity. We see our energy as a resource that must be constantly harvested. But consider the sea. It does not stop moving, yet it does not need to justify its movement. It is simply being the sea. You are allowed to be tired without it being a sign of laziness. You are allowed to be uninspired without it being a sign of failure. You are allowed to be silent without it being a sign of social inadequacy. Rest is not a reward you have to earn through struggle. It is the natural, necessary breathing space of your own life. When you find yourself checking your devices for reassurance, wondering if you have been seen or heard, notice the ache that drives that impulse. It is a hunger for belonging, and it is entirely human. Do not turn that hunger into a reason for self-hatred. Instead, turn toward it with the same compassion you would offer a child who is waiting to be picked up. You can say to yourself, quietly, that it is okay to want to be connected, and then you can return to the reality of the room you are in. You can feel the chair beneath you, the air on your skin, and the steady, reliable rhythm of your own heart. These are the things that are truly yours. Trying to control a relationship or an outcome is like trying to hold the tide in your hands. You want to ensure that things turn out perfectly because you believe that safety is found in the outcome. But the outcome is not in your hands. It is in the flow of the world. You can care deeply, you can act with love, and you can show up with your whole heart without needing to force the waves to move in a specific way. Caring without gripping tightly is the greatest form of strength. It shows a trust in the process of life, and it shows a confidence in your own ability to remain standing, even if the tide moves differently than you expected. You do not need to be a perfect observer to be a peaceful one. You will fall back into the old ways. You will get lost in the forest of your own stories. You will spend hours polishing the lens when you should have been looking at the sea, and that is fine. The point is not to reach a state of permanent perfection. The point is to notice when you have drifted and to gently, kindly bring yourself back to the cliffside. The return is the practice. Every time you realize you are lost, you have already found yourself again. Think of the way you handle the feeling of not being enough. This is a common, sharp ache that haunts the heart. When that feeling arises, notice where it lives in your body. Does it tighten your throat? Does it create a knot in your stomach? Do not try to solve it with an argument. Do not try to list your achievements to prove it wrong. Just sit with the feeling and recognize that it is a visitor. It is not the truth of who you are. It is just a feeling that has been visiting you for a long time. And you have been treating it like a resident. Tonight, You can start to treat it like a guest who is welcome to stay for a while, but who does not get to dictate the rules of your house. This is the beauty of the Zen perspective on daily life. It takes the heavy, complicated, and often painful experiences of being a modern person and transforms them into a series of small, manageable opportunities for presence. You are not trying to fix your life. You are trying to be more present within it. You are trying to show up for your own experience, even when it is messy, even when it is uncertain, and even when it is deeply uncomfortable. By showing up, you change the nature of the experience itself. You move from being the victim of your own mind to being the witness of your own existence. Notice the quiet that is waiting for you at the end of every day. No matter how loud the thoughts were, no matter how hard you tried to control the outcome, no matter how many times you felt invisible, the night still arrives. The darkness is always there, and it is always willing to receive you. But it does not ask for your performance. It does not ask for your credentials. It does not care if you have polished the brass or if you have let it go to rust. It only asks that you rest. As you prepare to close your eyes, think of the cliffside and the endless sea. The shrine is behind you, and the path forward is open. You have done enough for today. You have carried enough. You have worried enough. And you have performed enough. You can set the burden down, not because you have reached the end of your struggle, but because you deserve to have a moment of relief. You deserve to be in your own company without the pressure of being watched. The light of your own awareness is what matters. It is the only light that can guide you through the uncertainty of tomorrow, and it is the only light that can hold you in the warmth of the night. It has been there, unlit and unnoticed, through every moment of your struggle. It does not require you to be anything other than you are. It is the truth that survives the story. It is the peace that remains when you stop adding the second wound. And tonight, it is yours to rest within, as deep and as quiet as the vast, sleeping ocean. Let the image of the cliffside fade now, like a dream returning to the deep. Dark ocean, you have kept your vigil for long enough. You have polished the lens, you have watched the horizon, and you have held the weight of the shrine in your heart until your hands grew tired. The night is calling for your surrender. It does not want your vigilance. It wants your weight. Let the balcony beneath you dissolve into the gentle support of your own bed. Let the distance between you and the world simply vanish into the velvet dark. Your breathing is slow, rhythmic, and entirely untethered from the demands of the day. It moves in and out, like the tide against the grey stone, filling the sanctuary of your body with a quiet, cooling relief. You are no longer the keeper. You are no longer the one who must ensure the light remains visible. You are the light itself, and the light is finally ready to rest. You can feel your feet softening, the soles, the heels, the toes, all letting go of the earth. The legs feel heavy, sinking into the soft mattress like a boat finding a calm harbour. The tension that lived in your hips, in your lower back, in the tight, coiled muscles of your endurance is melting away. It is flowing out of you, carried off by the currents of the night. The mind is a quiet hall, and the candles are burning low. There are no murals here that need defending. There are no curtains that must be pulled shut against the prying eyes of the world. You are safe. You are the only one who needs to see yourself, and you have already looked. You have witnessed your own struggle. You have honored your own exhaustion, and you have acknowledged the truth of your own presence. That is all the validation you will ever need. It is enough to be known by yourself. It is enough to be felt by yourself. The rest is just the movement of the waves, and you are no longer trying to stop them. Think of the telescope one last time, abandoned on the balcony, its brass tarnished, its lens dusted with the fine, gentle salt of the sea air. It is no longer a tool of your performance. It is just an object, resting in the stillness. You are not missing anything by leaving it behind. You are gaining the vast, unpolished world. You are gaining the silence that exists between the stars. You are gaining the ability to be a person, not a project. The night is vast, and it is deep, and it has no expectations of you. You do not need to be any different than you are right now. You are exactly the presence the night was waiting for. Your chest is soft. Your throat is open. The tightness that lived behind your eyes has dissolved, replaced by a cool, expansive awareness. You can feel your heart beat, a faint, steady drum in the distance, a reminder of the life that continues even when you are not managing it. You are held by the dark. You are cradled by the silence. The worries you placed in the lamp are embers now, glowing softly, cooling as the night deepens. They do not need your breath to stay alive. They do not need your attention to be resolved. They are fading, and you are following them into the quiet. The shadows in the corners of your room are friendly. They are not hiding anything. They are just the natural shape of the night, holding space for your rest. You have done the work of being human, and it is a heavy, beautiful, difficult task. You have been brave to show up. You have been brave to look at your own shadows. You have been brave to let go of the need to be perfect. Tonight, there is nothing left to solve. The problems of the world will be there in the morning. But they do not belong to you right now. They belong to the tide. They belong to the moon. They belong to the vast, shifting, indifferent beauty of the universe. Your thoughts are like the mist on the mountain. They appear, they linger, and then they drift into nothingness. Do not try to catch them. Do not try to weave them into a story. Let them go. Let them be the wandering ghosts of a life you have already finished living for today. You are moving deeper now, into the place where language stops, and only the sensation of existence remains. The weight of your body is a comfort. The stillness of the room is a gift. You are sinking into the earth, and the earth is rising to meet you. Every breath is a little quieter than the last. Every thought is a little more distant, a little less urgent. The sanctuary you have built tonight is not made of stone or silk. It is made of this moment, this breath, this soft, intentional return to your own heart. You are not moving towards sleep. You are already there, resting in the quiet, undisturbed center of your own life. You are a presence, vast and still, mirrored in the dark water of the night. You are home, and you have nowhere else to go. What if the quiet you were always searching for was not a destination you had to reach, but the very place where you finally laid your burdens down?